One of the amazing things that has happened in the wake of Ahsoka and Dave Filoni with these terrible ratings is that not only have fans abandoned Star Wars at large, but no, it is even the retailers. I recently spoke with someone who loves Star Wars and is always positive. They gave the finale for Ahsoka a 3 out of 10. And yes, that's pretty close to where we might put this thing too. I might give it a 1 out of 10. But needless to say, if your most ardent fans and your best retail space are now evaporating out of your hands, maybe Dave Filoni isn't the man to continue leading this pony, because he is all hat and no creative cattle. Welcome back, folks, to the channel that endeavors to explain entertainment and keep you ahead of the culture curve. And when we do so, we like to sprinkle it with a little dose of positivity. But in this case, it's going to be tough, because we have been given a beef jerky of a series that is seasoned with incompetence and poor craftsmanship. It's terrible. Dave Filoni, what are you thinking? What are you drinking? Well, we've talked about it ad nauseum. We're continuing to talk about it simply because it continues to make the news just how bad Ahsoka was and what it's done to Star Wars. Now, fans don't even have anyone they can turn to that they trust at Lucasfilm to give them anything remotely good any longer. Where are you, Jon Favreau? Come back, Favreau! I'm not even sure he can save it now. Obi-Wan couldn't save this thing, not even if Princess Leia asked him to do so. George Lucas ain't buying it back either. So what's going down with Star Wars? We dove into this topic. We'll dive into it again. Folks, strap in, because we're going to tell you just how bad things have gotten for Dave Filoni and the rest of his crew over at Lucasfilm. If there was anything that could pull you back into Star Wars, is there anything that could possibly ever pull you back into Star Wars, or are you done completely?
Ooh. No more girl bosses, please. I want the girls to actually earn their wins.
So if you had watched this, you would have seen Sabine gather the ability to use the Force in the last episode, and all of a sudden, she leveled up 100 levels instantly, and she was now doing things which Luke Skywalker could never do in the original trilogy, despite all his training. From the instant she learned how to use the Source, she was now thrusting, in those bloopers you saw, poor Ezra, who would have died if she could not do that, but she was thrusting him into spaceships like Evel Knievel. So that doesn't draw you back to Star Wars at all.
No, it doesn't. No.
Interesting.
I think people need to earn their wins.
Well, you have to remember, the whole show started with Sabine zooming along an empty South Korean highway in that speeder. I mean, North Korean highway in that speeder.
A single location, Paul.
Yeah. You guys, she missed an event that she was supposed to be at to do that.
Right.
She was so late for a very important date.
No, Paul, she went to one location. They send the search party out. They're like, well, which exit do you think she took? I don't know. The only one?
The one to Oakland.
So
and then we end with her suddenly finding her superpower. And someone, I didn't make this up, but someone else mentioned that clearly she's kinky and into choking, and it's the only way she gets her super.
That's right. But Paul, did you notice too, because it's a Disney show, Kara is done. Kara is done. But Paul, because of the way that Disney handles these sorts of things, and folks, go back and look, the guy isn't even choking her. I think he's trying to break her clavicles. It's all I can come up with. Yeah, because choking's not allowed.
He's just holding her up.
Yes, exactly.
See, doesn't this feel better?
It's so bad. That's where we are, though, folks.
Villain, right? And now I will adjust you.
Folks, that's where we are. All we can do is laugh at it. Like we can't judge the merits of it. It's just fodder for humor.
And screaming because there is no humor. Enter the bill.
There is no humor in the show at all.
And then she, she was able to finally find the Force and clean out his ear cavities so he could hear.
Yes. Well,
and like he is what I call, he does convenience writing. In fact, they do that in Kurtzman Trek. Is that it doesn't matter who the character is. if they're in the scene and they need that character to do something just to push the story forward, they're going to let the character do it.
He should go right, Paul. He should write the Muppets, but he should write it seriously, and it will turn out perfect. It will land in the exact same, because when they go running off that cliff and jump with no knowledge of that the script says that the ship should be there, to me that was Muppets-esque.
See, that's a Filoniism.
Yeah,
where no one
Muppets-esque.
says, oh, they're on their way. I hope they make it in time. Like set it up at least. You know, it's funny. You know, you think, let's see, Stephen J. Cannell. What would have this show been like if Stephen J. Cannell had written it? It would have been, you know, a wonderful, simple American sitcom-y kind of thing, but it would make sense.
Yeah. And
it doesn't make sense, that's for sure.
They don't see that hole. They don't see that hole of setting that up as much as it could be done in a 10-second moment of saying, I hope they're there or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, just let me ask you guys this.
That's all you need.
So I think at least Disney corporate, they get it. And the reason I say that is because there aren't any toys for this, really. I mean, they just don't exist. So you've got some repackaged Ahsoka stuff, and we'll see. Jonas, I'm sure, will be back in, maybe a technical difficulty, but you've got some repackaged Ahsoka stuff from The Mandalorian that they rebranded for the Ahsoka show, and then you've got a few T-shirts, but there's no big push of action figures and toys and plushies and all of this stuff that you would typically see with a Star Wars thing. I mean, this is $200 million. This is supposed to be launching us towards a cinematic climax of the great Thrawn saga, the Heir to the Empire remake under Dave Filoni, who is the new George Lucas. We've been told that. And not even
close.
No, not in the same leagues, right? Where T-ball versus
not
pro.
even close.
But but Disney didn't put the merchandising spin behind this, and Hasbro didn't have to either. So it seems to me that somebody at the C-suite realized that this is a stinker. And I wonder, you know, what can possibly happen at Lucasfilm?
Oh,
fans don't have any hope anymore in anybody who works there.
It goes back, Pro. How come there was no indie tie-in at the parks? Why didn't they throw the new characters into the stunt show? There was no meet and greet because they knew it's a stinker. It's not going to draw. Somebody knew way before it came out. But,
well, they didn't want to have to pull away the Walmart greeters, you know, to pull in somebody to play.
Why not
play
sell the
Ford.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge coat rack?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right, but they have no desire to put the money behind this. And I think, you know, as I've been saying to folks, because when Iger comes out and says that he's going, I'm going to have to not look at Paul if I'm going to get through this one. as I've been telling folks, Iger, he comes out and he makes these platitudes, but watch his actions and watch Disney's actions. There's no toy line behind Ahsoka. You've got a few random lightsabers. You've got a few collector's items that they're running the minimum spooling on it. Let me bring this up. So just to give people a heads up, we had two contacts that gave us the information that allowed us to do the video with Jeff of World Class BSers. We finally got information from our highest level source in the toy industry. You know them as Deep Toy. That's the name that Valiant gave them. Here's what they said. It says, I'm working on sending you details when I get them about Star Wars, but it has downshifted so badly that economies of scale are gone. Retail space management at non-closeout accounts are a mess. Markdowns won't stop climbing, etc. Least toolings as possible, talking about the production of toys. Bring back some of the old classic stuff when possible. Use 2 times production. MOQ for financials. Rebels characters are dogs, except the original carryovers and Ahsoka. The rest is, well, not good. Working to get around that word. Ahsoka is still a decent collector draw, but that's really because of Clone Wars. And the novelties, according to the source high up in the toy and merchandise industry, says novelties are also dead on Star Wars, with the only exceptions being some of the original trilogy. And finishes off and says, that's what you get when you feminize a franchise that was aimed properly towards boys. So I gather from Kara that she's not buying Star Wars toys. And according to this individual, Hasbro is doing the least they can. They're stuck in this contract, but apparently running the very lowest amount that they possibly can with Star Wars. And even to the point now, gentlemen and ladies, that they have pushed the Ahsoka toys until February. And I'm told that's because they can't afford to put Ahsoka crap onto the retail space for the Christmas season because it's taking up spaces for things that would actually sell for Christmas.
Yeah.
And they can't waste their retail on that.
That
Thoughts?
doesn't surprise me one bit. The last Star Wars toy I bought was a BB-8, like a BB-8 plush back when Force Awakens came out. So, yeah, it doesn't surprise me that retailers aren't willing to sacrifice that shelf space during the holidays, especially with as poorly received as Ahsoka has been. I don't see any parents walking into a store being like, "Hey, my kid, they really want this Sabine doll. Like, please tell me you have one." I can tell you there's a 0 out of 10 chance that that's going to happen.
Yes, and I think too, you have to consider that the toy manufacturers, these licensees, they're looking at very high inflation and an economy that's not necessarily great. They can't afford to take a big chance on their holiday season with Ahsoka when it's just not doing well. But also, you have to know that they had some forethought into this. They chose early on not to support this, and I think they may have seen parts of it and said, "No way." There's no way. Either that or they're looking at Lucasfilm and saying, why would we trust them ever again? Look what they did with Indy. I mean, they were forced to make these toys. I don't know if you guys saw this. Paul, did you see the whip that they made for the little boys this
No.
last go around? It was a ribbon dancer. It was a cloth whip because you can't hurt anyone. So it was a brown ribbon dancer that they made for the boys. Sold like hotcakes, I tell you. If the hotcakes are mangled and moldy. Now,
I remember
Jonas
the good
is
old days where you had this stuff this goop that you could turn into a ball, or you could stick it on your face and mold it, and then they found it left rashes all over you.
And you
so
could
they
transfer comic book images
Yes.
onto it.
silly
Silly
putty, not
putty.
asbestos. I had
Oh, I
a
love
harsh
Silly
childhood.
Putty.
Yeah, in Canada we had silly asbestos. It wasn't healthy, but we had to
Hey
keep the
kids,
Quebec.
get out of the septic tank and come on over here and play with the
We had to keep
asbestos.
the Quebec economy going. That's where we mined the asbestos.
Hey guys, sorry, I'm back
Welcome
now.
back.
The internet and the power went out at the same time, but it was really bad. I was right at the end of the Italian episodes of Everybody Loves Raymond, and
I'm so sorry.
Robert
I'm
was
so
trying
sorry.
to decide between Stefania and Amy, and I had to finish that up before I joined the show.
And yet again, folks, we have come to the end of another fascinating and tremendous conversation here on the WDW Pro channel. And as always, we love delivering you this kind of content. If you love it as well, the way to make this thing go is, well, click the like button, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. This also is not just a conversation amongst those who appear on the panel. Nay, I say, it is rather a conversation with all of you, a community of people analyzing the news and entertainment. So drop a comment down below. We cover your comments. We care about what you think. And folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.